You are so wonderful to me. You are so wonderful to me. You're everything that I hope for. You're everything that I need. You are so wonderful to me.
Welcome, first-time listeners and returners, to the Sports Deli, where everyone deserves a seat at the table. And with that being said, we're so honored on this 21st day of Raspberry, Blackberry, and Blueberry Month, the late Robin Williams' birthday, to welcome the pride of Brinkley, Arkansas, former Harlem Globetrotter, Herb Flight Time Lang. In case you were wondering, like I was, Brinkley, Arkansas is exactly 1 hour and 4 minutes from both Little Rock, Arkansas, and Memphis, Tennessee. He's traveled to nearly 90 countries several times and all 50 states as a member of the Harlem Globetrotters for 18 years. Interestingly, he wore the late famous Globetrotter, my favorite, Curly Neal's number 22 for the first 7 years of his career, one of the last to do so before it was retired during a ceremony in Madison Square Garden in 2008. His grandmother taught him the meaning of his famous hashtag, as you can see on his long sleeve hoodie for those of you watching on YouTube, kindness is free. He shook hands with Bill Clinton in middle school. He has 5 sisters and 3 brothers. He's been on The Amazing Race not once, not twice, but 3 times, finishing in 4th, 2nd, and 6th respectfully, clearly creating the best alliances in 2011 during season 18. He recently did a TED Talk. He appeared on Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader? He learned so much from his dad, a preacher. He met Pope Francis. He's an author of the book Projects, Popes, and Presidents, which he'll talk about later. And speaking of presidents, he met number 44, President Barack Obama, twice. He was born the same day as Austin Rivers and the same year as the late Chadwick Boseman. He always found the silver lining in any adversity he's faced and asked himself, what can I learn from this, especially during the hard times? And his mission now, since he left his life as a Globetrotter in 2017, is to inspire others and pay it forward to make the world a better place for everyone. You can find him on Instagram and Twitter at DA Trotter, just like it sounds, with the number 4 at the end of it, at DA Trotter 4, and at herblang.com. Man, first Harlem Globetrotter in the Sports Deli, where everyone deserves a seat at the table, especially someone that can spin the ball on their finger for a very long time. Herb, welcome to the Sports Deli, bro.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate that beautiful intro, all those things that you said. You know, a lot of times when I hear the intros, I'm like, man, that's me. Is he talking about me? I had a chance to do all of those pretty, cool things. And most importantly, I also think about the people who helped me get those opportunities, because without them, none of these things would be possible. And a lot of times they get to live vicariously through the things that I get to do. And at the same time, I get to inspire them, let them know that they can do it too if they really, really, really put their minds to it, whatever that may be.
Yeah, representation obviously is really important. My introduction to Arkansas was really back in 1994, 40 Minutes of Hell, Nolan Richardson, was the head coach, didn't believe in watching film. He was going to dictate tempo and they were going to do what they were going to do. And you had to adjust to him, Corliss Williamson, Scotty Thurman. So you talked about the influences in your life and helping you to see the world the way that you see it now, from a very young age. So talk about what it was like, to be in Brinkley growing up and how that, helped you see the world the way you did and why you're living your life the way you are now.
Yeah, growing up in a small town is always interesting. I mean, it's growing up anywhere you have a story, but growing up in my small town, there was people who had success, but there was a lot of people who didn't have success, whatever that looked like. Fortunately, when you're in communities like that, as they say back in the day, it takes a whole group or a village to raise good kids or good human beings. And that's kind of what happened to me. It took a combination of teachers, grandparents, aunts, uncles to inspire me, to see that anything is possible. And, as a result of that, people like my high school basketball coach, for example, who was my coach from 7th grade all the way through 12th grade, he saw something in me in 7th grade. And, he would tell me stories because his son and I were best friends. We were in the same grade and we both played basketball, we played football. So if he was going to a football game, a high school football game, I was going with them. If they were going to Little Rock or Memphis that you mentioned, they would come out and pick me up, and just take me under their wing, which was very important for the simple fact that although I had a lot of people in my life that helped influence me, and my father, he wasn't really around. And that's not because he was a bad person. He just lived in Dallas, Texas, and we would go there during the summers. But during that time when he wasn't able to be there, it was kind of like my high school basketball coach was the person who had, he'd already been coaching for over 20 something years in our school. And I remember him telling me something about seventh grade. He said, Lang is what he used to call me. He said, Lang Bang. He said, there's a lot of athletes that have come over the years that have never made it over that next step. And that's because of grades and being uncoachable. So for me, I learned early on that it's important to be able to sit back and take criticism, gather information, process information, and don't take everything personal. And like I tell these young people today, when you have coaches, parents, grandparents, even ministers, whoever it is that's influential person in your life, they're not really out there, to tear you down. And one thing I've noticed is that a lot of these people, they just want to be a part of the success story. They want to be a part of your ESPN 30 for 30. They want to say that I had something to do with, the level of success that Mike or that Herb was able to achieve.
Was he black?
Yeah, yes, yeah, he was.
He was
a
black.
black man. Yeah, and he's still alive. He is. We actually text back and forth today. One of the things that I do, and I really enjoy doing, is finding people who have impacted me, who have made an impact in my life. And I like to tell them thank you. I've had a chance to do that to a couple of people just over the past couple of weeks. One of my first Globetrotter coaches, I was able to see him at the Vegas Summer League at the National Basketball Retired Players Association meeting. And it was the first time I had seen him, my first coach in probably 15 years. And at that time, I had a chance to tell him, which I think caught him off guard, right before we left the event. I said, hey, man, I just wanted to tell you thank you, because if it weren't for you, I don't know if I could have played for 18 years. And then just 2 days ago, I had a chance to talk to one of the referees who was with the organization for a good 20 years. And the thing that I remembered about him and what made me want to reach out to him, and which I reached out to one of my teammates to get his number, is the fact that when I first made the team, we had training camp up in Prescott, Arizona. We were based out of Phoenix, Arizona. And I just remember on the way to the airport, because as the referee, they do a lot of jobs. They're not just a referee, they do laundry, they drive the team bus sometimes. They have to, get guys up in the morning. So they have a full full plate of
Hear all the booze.
Hear all the booze, all of that good stuff. But
get the water.
Get the water thrown at you. But he told me on our way back to the airport after that first training camp, that I remember him telling me, he said, just keep on doing what you're doing and you'll be around here for a long time. And so I had a chance to thank him 2 days ago, because that stuck with me. I'll never forget that he said that. I don't know if he remember telling me that, but I just want to let people know why they're alive, that I appreciate them. And I tell my coach, my basketball coach, my former football coach, they're in my email chain, my text messaging chain every day, inspiring them the way that they inspired me when I was young. So that's kind of my way of giving back and making sure that they know why they're alive, what they did made an impact, and what I'm going to do and what I'm doing right now, their legacy will live forever.
Man, that's fascinating. For a second, I forgot you were a Globetrotter. I was so immersed in your childhood that I was just like, in one of the first questions that I thought about was, he had to have been living just before he coached you in the civil rights era. So looking back on it, do you think that he was guiding you in a way that the civil rights era impacted him to make sure that history didn't repeat itself?
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely right in saying that he was a person who, again, I mean, now he's probably close to 80 years old. He was all about education. He's a man in my town who had a master's degree, an educated person who's been through, but like you say, the civil rights movement. He's seen all this stuff. He's seen what's possible, through sports. And he showed me through sports and through grades, most importantly through grades. And he would say, a lot of these guys don't make it because they don't make the grade. And as a result of that, myself, his son, and other of my former teammates, we not only competed in sports, we also competed in the classroom in math and English and science. And what that led to was, out of 60 people graduating in our class, 3 of us had basketball scholarships, 3 of us had football scholarships. I was president of the class. I graduated with, honors, top 10%. as well as my best friend and 2 other guys. This is something that kind of landed in 9th grade because he told the story, hey, these are the grades that are going to follow you around for the rest of your life. And he was right. You know, those grades that I was able to achieve, they put me in a position to where even if I didn't play basketball in any particular sport, I still had scholarship offers just off of academics. And that's, you know, super important. And having that sound educational background of knowing that you're dealing with a person who's been a leader, who's been a president, and even moving forward, graduating from college and moving into the Globetrotters. The Globetrotters, people who ran the organization, they had a little bit more respect for the guys who actually graduated. You know, we downplay education a little bit more so these days than we have in the past. There's different ways to educate, which I do agree on, but there is a certain level of respect that comes along with people who hire, because they see it as a person who's committed to something, and they can start something and they actually follow through with it and they finish.
Right.
And it's a big deal. So I just would love to encourage, you know, young people, old, to, even if it's not in education, if you start something and you're passionate about it and you know there's going to be benefits for not only yourself, but others down the road, go for it. Don't quit, you know, keep it going. It's all about being consistent. And once you're consistent with something, you'll get all the benefits that you need. Like, for example, me with my Kindness is Free movement, I've been kind all my life. And if you look into to the Globetrotters programs and stuff, and being kind doesn't mean I'm perfect. I get upset. I've, you know, done things that I'm not proud of, but my intentions are always good. I always have other people's, you know, intentions at hand as well. And as I think back to my career, I always wrote in the Globetrotters book when it would ask, my motto was patience and kindness, patience and kindness, patience and kindness. Everything that's happened in my life has been as a result of people being kind to me, people stepping up and speaking for me and creating opportunities for myself. But that also goes along with the way that you carry yourself. Graduating from high school or leaving high school, I didn't have a lot of schools that were recruiting me. And it took somebody from my hometown who was already playing Division I basketball at Centenary College, 2 years older than me, friends of our family, to step up and say, hey, Centenary, you guys need to look at this guy. He's not being heavily recruited, but he's passed the ACT test. He's honor society. He's class president. And what happened with that is they gave me a basketball scholarship without even coming to see me play. You know, a Division I basketball scholarship without even coming to see me play. I recall the phone call when they offered me, and I was like, yeah, I'm coming. You don't even have to bring me on a recruiting visit. You know, they were like, no, we're going to bring you on a recruiting visit. I was like, really, you don't have to. My first time being there, I just would be me actually driving up there, but just everything, man. Even my opportunity with the Globetrotters, I had finished. I won the dunk contest in '98 at the Final Four in San Antonio, and
you and Kobe.
I had a pretty good college career, and a lot of people thought that I was NBA material. But during that year that I finished, NBA had a big lockout. They didn't start the season until like February of '99.
Right.
So for me, what that laid out in front of me was I had opportunities to go overseas and play for $50,000-$60,000 or something like that, or I could go back to school and finish my degree. I decided to go back and finish my degree. I student taught at one of the biggest high schools in Shreveport, Louisiana, Southwood, where Terry Bradshaw went to school at. And what that led to was me as a personal trainer for 10 months and a roommate who was a soccer player at my college, who became one of my best friends through college. He went to a Globetrotter game, a little 5'7" Asian guy who played soccer, went to a Globetrotter game.
Wow.
And went up to one of the coaches after the game, one of the people who we thought were in charge, and said, hey, man, what do you have to do to be a Globetrotter? What are the qualifications? And I just remember him telling me, so they looked at me kind of crazy because I'm a 5'7" Asian guy, but I had to quickly let them know that wasn't for me. It was, you know, it was for his friend, which was myself, who had just won the college dunk contest the year before. And that resulted in me sending a video in.
Wow.
And within a day of them getting the video, it was March. I remember when I sent the video, they said, hey, we're going to put you down for our training camp later on this summer. Mike, I forgot all about the training camp. I forgot about it. And then one day they called me in August and said, hey, remember we talked about the training camp? Well, it's happening in 3 days. Are you able to come? And I had to immediately tell my boss at the time that, look, I appreciate this opportunity, but what's about to happen is I'm about to make this team so you can go ahead and hire somebody else for this position. And again, it was, kindness, somebody who believed in me more than I believed in myself, somebody who gets to be a part of my story as I'm telling it right now. I mean, I could go on and on from my opportunities on Amazing Race. It was just people believing in me. An acting opportunity that I just got 4 months ago that came out of nowhere, called me up. I wouldn't even audition and got this opportunity just by the way I've been able to carry myself. And again, I'm not a perfect person. I have my pitfalls and struggles every day, but I do strive and I do try to make sure that if you come into contact with me or in my presence, I try to make sure that you say, man, I really enjoyed that time or that moment with him.
So you went to Centenary and then so what happened at that training camp? How did that go? Was there other players there? Were you intimidated? Like, a normal basketball tryout, you're coming off curls, you're shooting a mid range, maybe some threes, but like, did they see if you could spin the ball? Like, what was the tryout like?
The tryout when I first joined the Globetrotters, back in '99, when I joined the team, Manny Jackson was the current owner of the team, who was a former Globetrotter. He had purchased the team, I think, in '93. 94 when the Globetrotters went bankrupt. And his idea is that he wanted the Globetrotters to play competition basketball, to be as good as any NBA team, kind of the same vision that Abe Saperstein and the others who preceded him had. So when I went to training camp, I remember the first couple of days, there was about 20 guys in training camp. No veteran players were there the first couple of days. These are just guys that, former college players, even former NBA players coming to try out. And after the first day, second day, actually, they cut 10 people. So
wait, what former NBA players were there?
Oh man, during my first year, after they brought some of the veterans in, I mean, I had, speaking of the Razorbacks, Oliver Miller, Todd Day.
The Big O?
I was at training camp with these guys.
Man, Todd Day was one of the best shooters I've ever seen to this day.
Fun guy. And the Todd Day story, I had a life-size Todd Day poster from the Arkansas Democrat Gazette hanging in my room as a kid.
Man.
And to be there at training camp with them after the success that they've had, professionally and on those levels. I mean, I had a chance to play with a lot of Cedric Sabalas played with us in the 2000s.
Great DJ.
Jamario, oh man, he's still mixing. He does a lot.
He almost died too
during COVID. And he did the Amazing Race with Sean Marion. Yeah,
crazy.
But man, great guy. And when you talk about the DJ, and it reminds me of when he first joined the team. It was, of course, on the back end of his NBA career, but he loved his time with the Globetrotters. We just talked about this. He and I just 2 weeks ago at the Vegas Summer League, how much he enjoyed it, how much he embraced it, and how much it hurt him when he got cut, just like the rest of us.
Man, that's crazy.
And I'm like, man, I never heard him give that perspective in 2 weeks ago. I never knew that him being a Globetrotter meant that much to him. I'm like, man, he's an NBA. He could care less about being a Globetrotter. But he began to share with one of my former teammates who had never met him his experience, that we had together. He's like, man, I started doing the hook shot. I started getting on the microphone. He used to play our music in the locker room when you talk about DJing. Like, he embraced being a Globetrotter. He embraced the NBA, but he embraced the moment that he was in. And he, still to this day, he has great memories of being a Globetrotter. And
I'm sure he's got great memories, but that's a great story. I was going to say, he's one of the toughest guys I've ever watched play, man. Like, you do not mess with Ced. Like,
he would D up.
Ooh.
He was
athletic. Yep. Man, I've been trying to get him on the show for a while. He always responds to some of my comments, but that would be fun to have you co-host with me and get Ced on. That would be.
I'll send him a text message and see what he says about.
He knows who I am. I made a lot of comments, about some of his stuff, but I've had a lot of his buddies on, KJ and Lon, Jelani McCoy and Ray Young, all the guys that he's tight with. Steve Lavin.
Ray Young played at UCLA, right?
Yep.
Ray Young, he was at training camp with me my rookie year.
Seriously?
Yeah. Ray Young.
I didn't know that when I interviewed him. That's crazy. Wow, I missed that.
Ray Young was one of the guys that was in training camp my first year.
He's doing big things with all the smoke and all those guys. Baron Davis, all those guys are doing big things right now. Yeah.
That made me think. I thought about Ray Young recently, so I get to reach out to him as well. Thanks for bringing that up.
He's a good dude. Yeah.
That's funny that we're talking about that, and he was just, he was at training camp with me my
crazy.
first year.
Yeah. So you make that team that first year?
I made the team the first year, and that's when I got the nickname flight time. And the coolest part was after making the team. So one of the crazy things that happened was when you're at training camp, you have a roommate. And after practice, they would tell us, when you get back to the hotel, stick by the phone for about 10 to 15 minutes. Don't go to lunch yet, because they'll be making phone calls. And those phone calls are you about to get cut calls,
Right.
typically. And so I just have this fond memory of this guy, and I still remember his name, and I haven't seen him to this day. The phone rang, and it was our legendary coach, Tex Harrison. And he says, well, first of all, when the phone's ringing, we're both nervous. We're looking at each other like, no, you get it. No, you get it. I ain't getting it. So I pick up the phone. Like, in my best Tex Harrison voice. May I speak to Anthony McCutcheons? And I remember looking at, hey, dog, this for you. And I gave him the phone, and I got up and went to lunch.
Right.
And yeah, he got cut. And I remember him telling me that, they told him that, they appreciate him coming out. Maybe there was an opportunity down the road, but he said they offered him an opportunity to play on the opposition team, which is the Washington Generals.
Yeah.
He actually turned that down, but I just remember that's when I knew I made the team. They had dwindled it down to 8 players that they were going to keep first year, and they brought in about 20 other veterans in the next day.
Wow.
And that was the chance when I had to meet people like Sweet Lou Dunbar, Curly Boo Johnson, Osborne Lockhart, Michael Wild Thing Wilson, the Guinness Book of World Record holder. Just guys that I'd been University of Memphis. I've been watching Mike Wilson at Memphis for years.
Right.
So and before I know it, we're competing in the dunk contest together at the end of training camp, and we're roommates and hanging out, and I'm going to see him in Memphis in the off season. So it's just.
But what was your best dunk though?
Well, my best dunk typically, back then it was a 360. And I tell people now, I won the dunk contest in '98. I look at the dunk contest 3 years ago, and I see guys going between the legs, and I'm like, man, I never even thought about that stuff. And I tell people, I'm not a person that sit back and say, well, back in my day, it was this.
Right.
These guys are bigger, faster, stronger. I have no doubt about it.
Right.
And 18 years with the Globetrotters, it was the same thing. Every 4 years, I saw a different athlete, mentally, physically, and emotionally, which I thought was cool because it allowed me to be able to adjust. To be able to be relative to people who were younger than me. Yeah. And I appreciate it. And I took all the information and knowledge that I could with them and shared with them. But every 4 years, just like, I don't know, I was telling my wife, I said, I don't know who came up with that science of it, but every 4 years, like 9th grade through 12th grade, college, freshman year, it's a different human being that you get to meet. And
that's true.
I embrace it. And even today, watching the game the way it is now, I have nothing bad to say about it, except if I was playing, I'd be playing the same way. That's all I have to say.
Well, the thing that I find fascinating, besides Steph Curry being relevant off the court as much as he is on the court, if not more, is he stretches the floor. I just thought about this yesterday. I remember during the finals, Klay Thompson set a back screen 45 feet from the basket, near half court, slipped it, a back screen near half court for Steph Curry, and they were honoring it. And he slips it, and they were trying to pressure the hell out of Draymond. Didn't work. And he hit him on a back door from 40 feet away. But the fact that you were guarding Steph right when he crossed half court, and that back screen actually worked in that moment. Like, that's how some players, have respect now. Like 40 feet from the basket, it's unreal. You can't play pack line D or, can't do it.
Well, the court's 94 feet, and finally the entire court is in play. And I noticed this, Mike. I noticed this speaking of Steph Curry. I noticed the first time when Cleveland played Golden State in the finals, and I was watching the game. I was paying attention. I was watching how hard it was for LeBron to get to the basket,
right,
and how easy it was for Steph Curry to get to the basket. And the reason is because he could shoot, and the court's so wide, he shot crazy. You got to respect the shooters out there. He's getting wide open layups. And I'm like,
crazy.
LeBron can't get these layups because he can't shoot like him. Not to say that, Steph's a better player, but he definitely revolutionized the game in a way like no human, individual player has. Maybe a team like the Globetrotters have, but as far as the individual on such a big stage, he made the court 94 feet. Before then it was about 68 feet because you pick up at the 3-point line. And then now if you pay attention, you see the WNBA, they got the 4-point shot in there, right? us Globetrotters, we started that 4-point shot, actually put it into the game. I'm not saying we innovated, but our owner at the time back in 2007, not our owner, our president,
Right.
Kirk Snyder, he was the person who said, all right, we're going to put it in the game. People had talked about it, but we actually started to put the spots down on the floor. And now, as you look at it, that 4-point shot is about 35 feet away from the basket, and guys are making it with regularity, and young ladies are making it within regularity. So with all the pushback and things that's going on, I'm just enjoying the evolution of a game that's been good to me, and enjoying watching young people, thrive and get so much out of it as well. And people like us who are fans now, the joy that we get, from watching it and even remembering how it used to be played. And like you say, man, we used to, we pick up a half court. Now you have to honor a screen 40 feet away from the hoop.
Crazy. I mean, if Steph wins another one without KD next year, I probably would select. If you asked me who would you start a team with, MJ would be first. Obviously Kareem's in that conversation, Magic, but I might jump Steph over Kobe and LeBron if he wins another title next year without KD with a similar team that he has now. I got to be honest with you, and I wouldn't have said that before last year.
I was listening to Kendrick Perkins, and he kind of said the same thing, and they jumped all down his throat. He's like, yeah, I think right now I would take, if I had to start a team, even over Kobe, I would take Steph Curry over Kobe Bryant. And I'm a Kobe Bryant fan too.
He was selfish.
I'm a Kobe Bryant fan in the sense that I appreciated him more when he won those championships after Shaq left, but also the fact that what I said about Kobe is he's a clone of Michael Jordan. I won't say he's better than Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan gave him the blueprint.
Right.
And so Kobe was able to do the things that Michael had done earlier. He was able to work on the fadeaway jump shot in his early 20s, as opposed to Michael Jordan when he got 33, 35. That's when he started shooting fadeaway. When he wasn't jumping as high. So, fundamentally, he got an advantage in that. But like the instinct that Michael Jordan had, I don't think there's a lot of people that can. It's a question that we all argue to this day between him, LeBron, and the people that other people seen during their generation. And it's all generational.
So, you're from the South, and you went to a lot of places, every state in the United States, and then overseas. And, this is a big part of the show. And one of the things that I talked about on TikTok today was with regards to Aaliyah Boston being snubbed from ESPN's invite of the ESPYs yesterday, even though they later invited her, but, somewhat insulting at that point. But I just wanted to find out from your experience, did you, not only when you were growing up, but did you face any of that overseas or, with the Globetrotters, and how did you handle it? How did the, organization, I guess it's an organization, how did the club handle it? When you faced any of those types of things or any of your teammates?
Are you saying like as far as like racism or discrimination or anything like that?
Anything like that. Any systemic issues that maybe you faced?
Oh man, absolutely. Growing up in small town Arkansas, and a lot of people don't really like when I talk about this, but
I love when you talk about it because it keeps the conversation going.
Yeah, there was definitely segregation in my town. There were swimming pools in our town that in the 80s, we knew that we couldn't go. I learned how to swim in Dallas, Texas at my dad's, there were skating rinks, at least one that we couldn't go to. And I would hear my students, my classmates, 4th, 5th grade or whatever. Oh yeah, we're going to the skating rink. It's Friday night. We knew that we couldn't go.
I just saw a story. Yeah, I just saw a story where some people of color, don't quote me on the era, but it was either 50s or 60s, probably 60s. They went into a hotel pool to protest, and the manager of the hotel poured acid in the pool.
Yeah.
And they said that they expected some pushback, but they didn't expect acid. And that's some of the things that you had to face back then. It's unreal.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Even I played Little League baseball. My uncle, we were like the Bad News Bears. We rallied up some gloves, some baseballs, threw some sand down in the dirt in front of the old Marion Anderson Black School in our hometown, while a lot of my friends who I went to kindergarten all the way up to 7th and high school with, I remember in kindergarten and 1st grade looking into the newspaper and seeing, my friends on the baseball team playing at this beautiful baseball field that was at a Greenlee park, so to speak, where we all should have been able to play. Where eventually it did happen, but it used to break my heart. I remember as a 7, 8-year-old, when I would look in those papers and I would see those uniforms, IGA, Walmart, dollar store, and there was none of us in those photos. And I always wondered why. I was like, man, I wonder if I could hit the ball over that fence. I see my best friend, who's a white kid in kindergarten. You know, I see that he's hit 2 home runs in the game, and it's in the newspaper. But for us, we had to go 25 miles up the road in Marianna, Arkansas, just to get. They would even play against us.
Wow, that's amazing. Because you're a little bit younger than me, so that's incredible. Wow.
Yeah, but it was just, we didn't raise a lot of hell. We just kind of, went along with it, which now I see that wasn't really the way to go. I mean, I'm not saying raise a lot of hell, but for me, those experiences, and they taught me a lot. They taught me, even with this Facebook groups and stuff now, it taught me that a lot of these young people, they weren't even unaware. Because I mentioned to some of my former classmates over the past couple of decades, and a couple of them like, yeah, man, now that I think about it, you guys were never there. Like, they never even realized it, even into adulthood, that the friends that they went to school with didn't play Little League baseball with them, were not at the swimming pool with them, did not go skating with them on Friday nights. But again, that just made me realize, especially when I would go to Dallas, Texas in the summers, and I would see kids of color, Mexican, Chinese, Asian, all swimming together at the recreation center together, playing Little League baseball together. So I knew that it wasn't right. And so that's the way I've kind of lived my life. It doesn't matter who you are, and I'm not holding you responsible for what your parents did, but if you're still holding on to those same things, I have a problem with it. When I hear people make complaints about, oh, well, my dad used to say this, well, maybe your dad wasn't right. Your parents weren't always right. I take some of the values and stuff that they taught me, and I tell people I take a little bit of the good from every person that I met, and what's being created through the universe is me, what I consider a superhuman. I feel like I can do anything. I am a little bit of everybody. I'm a little bit of the good within everybody. And that's what it is.
Well,
so
we see
the good and create a superhuman.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we all steal, right? So, as long as you're stealing the good things and making it into your authentic self, that's what's really important. And, we see a lot of fan involvement, and a lot of the current players have commented on it. And obviously there's people that go way over the line. And you don't really associate that with the Globetrotters, but did people go over the line either with what we're talking about now or in other ways? And did it make you take a step back or look at things differently?
As far as with the Globetrotters, over the course of my career, I saw a lot of guys get let go that I felt like they didn't deserve, to be let go in the way that they let go. And people often ask me, even with the Globetrotters, you think it was racism involved in it? I'd say there was a little bit of racism in some of the stuff that happened, but at the end of the day,
weren't most of the players African American though? I'm confused.
Okay, but there's people within the organization. There's mascots. There's trainers. There's road managers. So people that got let go, they let some of those white people go just as bad as they let go of some of the other people. So at the end of the day, it wasn't always about racism. It wasn't a race thing. I think it was a bottom line thing at the end of the day, tied in with a little bit of racism. But one thing about the Globetrotters is that we were accepted in places where other people weren't. We were the team that were able to break down barriers, which leads me to let you know that I was able to play a role in a movie that's coming up called Sweetwater. It's the story of the Nate Sweetwater Clifton, the first African American to sign a NBA contract. And one of the enlightening things about this experience for me was, Mike, that after having played 18 years from 99 to 2017, and then having 5 years off, searching, trying to figure out what my next step was, and just being creative and showing gratitude during that process and continue to grow. Being able to play for 18 years and then being able to go back, we filmed from early May through mid-June, about 6 weeks. Being able to go back and live in this movie that was basically shot in the settings of the 40s and 50s, to read the scripts, to have lines and hear what their visions were, and to have already lived them, craziest thing ever. And also being able to go back in time and incorporate lines that I thought would be appropriate moving forward. So I'm putting lines in 1949 and 50 that weren't there, that are going to make an impact in 2022, because I've already lived it. I've seen their vision, and a lot of the stuff has come to fruition, but there's a lot of it that I get to make, and we get to make, actually come into even bigger fruition, the way that these guys visioned back in the 40s and 50s. And that's through discrimination, eliminate discrimination, treating people fairly, Globetrotters were some of the teams, the first people to stay in some of these hotels that they didn't let people in, you know? So it's just been an honor, man, to have been a part of such a prestigious organization through the good and the bad. At the end of the day, like, man, the experiences that we have, the people whose lives that we had an opportunity to touch, and even now, 90 countries. My mission now is to go back and touch and impact as many people that have helped me along the way. 90 countries I survived. I've been in nightclubs, I've been in bars, I've been in a bunch of uncompromising positions, and people looked out for me. And so I just want people to realize that, hey, we're all humans. Give the person next to you an opportunity before we judge, because we're all human beings having a life experience, and we don't all have to agree.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So you probably don't know this, but we had, unless you really vetted me, we had Dr. Richard Lapchick on the show, and he's one of the most influential people in all of sports. His dad was Joe Lapchick. He was Sweetwater's coach, and he was the one that signed Sweetwater, right, for the New York Knicks, the first African American.
$12,500. Yes,
yep, the first African American ever to be signed in the NBA.
He's in the movie. He's in the movie. He has he's featured in the movie Lapchick.
Man, that's amazing. He was on our show, ladies and
gentlemen. Ned Irish. He was the owner of the Knicks and Madison Square Garden back in the day. He's featured in the show. I mean, it was just.
When is it coming out?
Well, when we wrapped it mid-June, and I think that they're hoping, and we're hoping, sometime February next year. Maybe I was
gonna say 6 months. Yeah.
All-star break, maybe after that sometime. One of the cool things about it is that, speaking with the director, a lot of time having a lot of good conversations over the course of filming, is that, the commissioner was okay with it. Adam Silver was like, okay, let's do it. Let's make a movie. And it's going to be a great movie that's going to really, I think, move the needle and let some of these younger players realize that, the Globetrotters really had an impact on what you guys are doing today. And it's not just for that reason. It also, for me, my vision is that when I was filming for that 6 weeks, there was never a day where I felt out of place. And a lot of those producers and co-producers were like, man, are you sure you guys have never been in movies before? They were surprised that me and Kevin Daly, who were the actual real Globetrotters out of the 6, who actually played, that we were good on film. And I had to explain to them. I said, look, I played for 18 years in stages all across the world. I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, sometimes a week in a row, going into news stations. I know where the cameras are. I know how to react. We all do. What happens is when our careers end, we go home and you never hear from us again, because as athletes, we're used to people having done stuff for us. Do this, be here at this time. And when that's going away, if you're not able to find that again, guys, you disappear. But my goal is, and my intention moving forward, is that opportunities like this will become more available for ambassadors of goodwill, people who have seen the world from a different point of view, unlike any other person, who have walked streets that people can't even imagine. And it's not just about me, it's about everybody. And these guys have stories, they have visions that will impact and change this world.
Man, that's incredible. Do you want to talk about either mental health or, being a strong man of color, how representation matters when it comes to what you saw after George was unalived in 2020 and what we're, living in now, which is a lot of divisiveness and, a lot of misinformation, disinformation, which is probably the most frustrating part of it all. Like you said earlier, you can disagree and agree to disagree, but, when there's misinformation and there's unwritten rules in sports, but when you cross some of those unwritten lines, that's when things get a little bit foggy and it feels really uncomfortable. And that's what I feel like we're living in now is we've gone a little bit too far, probably on both sides. And so I don't know if you want to speak on any of that, because obviously, your mission is to, like you already talked about, kindness is free and, staying in that lane. And really, as I've said earlier in the show in the beginning, it is a white issue. And that's my biggest frustration with white professional athletes is they don't step up like the Tom Brady's and the Peyton Mannings and the Eli Mannings and the Aaron Rodgerses and, all of them. Now one of them has spoken, Tony
Kyle
Romo.
Korver, there's some Kyle Korvers.
No, Kyle Korver does and JJ Redick does.
Yep, JJ Redick, those are two guys that
and Rex Chapman.
Shout out to Rex Chapman, one of my heroes growing up as a kid, man. He was Kentucky. Pardon my French, but he was one of the coldest white guys I've seen. coming up back in the 80s, man, I was like Rex Chapman. He could shoot, he could dunk, he
do
just played
everything
with such swag. And I enjoy his stuff too. I follow, his
right. But those are the
broadcast.
three white guys that you could combine their white allyship, and they don't have remotely close to the impact that a Tom Brady could, or a Peyton, any of the football quarterbacks. And so that's
Yeah.
been my biggest issue, my biggest criticism. And I just had a conversation with a former WNBA player who's a good friend of mine today. She, and I talked about how Aaliyah Boston didn't get invited to the ESPYs. And she said, well, you're comparing apples and oranges. I said, nope. When a person of color is murdered, or they finish their day delivering on DoorDash, and then they get murdered in their own living room, or there's nonviolent offenses that they're getting chased down in their house and getting the shit beat out of them, which happened a couple of days ago. These are the issues that all white people should stand up for, and it shouldn't take another George for people to speak out and continue the conversation. So that's sort of my angle to this narrative. And so that's where I get most frustrated is Tom Brady. I went through every single one of his Instagram and Twitter posts. He's posted 3 times all over a year ago with regards to systemic racism and white privilege. And so I just think it's a complete disappointment, to say the least, that he and all those guys have not done more in that white space to educate, mobilize, and speak out when things like yesterday happened, especially with Black women.
Well, and just to tap on that a little bit, I mean, I love your passion about that. Sometimes there's, not to say that Tom Brady, but there's some people you don't want taking the lead on something. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, to have a voice and stand up for the people who are contributing to your success, like directly, like working next to you, it would be nice to have more people to stand up and lend their voice. But when it comes to, like, when you talk about mental health, for me, my degree is in health and physical education. And I've had this conversation with several people. I don't remember at one point at all during college or high school where anybody talked about mental health.
Right.
The thing that I knew about mental health was, it was, you had, what was it, schizophrenia, you're crazy, right, and you need to go see a shrink. And this was something that was frowned upon, especially in, the African-American community, so to speak. And for me, when my Globetrotter career ended, when I got that phone call unexpectedly after 18 years, when I'm thinking I'm about to get my next assignment, it caught me off guard. I had just, done 3 seasons of The Amazing Race. I was a player coach. I had just come back from Europe promoting shows, and out of nowhere, I get a phone call saying, hey, your time is up. We're going in another direction over the phone after 18 years. It sent me into a dark place for a couple of days. But what happened after that, after 2 days, I came out of feeling sorry for myself, and I emailed every person that I could think of in that office who contributed to my success, and let them know that I appreciate it. I was lucky enough to hold that position for 18 years, and now someone else would be able to hold it. But at the same time, mentally, I wasn't prepared. I wasn't offered any counseling. I wasn't offered any leads on job opportunities on the way out. It was just like, thank you, we appreciate what you did. We're going to give you a little bit of this right here, and good luck.
So different layers to mental health, obviously, right? It could be chemical, it could be your situation where, as an athlete, you're transitioning out. And so this is the thing you mentioned earlier about education, right? That education is so antiquated, right? We should be teaching financial literacy. We should be teaching mental health, coping skills, having better tools in our toolbox. And so you bring up a great point about that. So go ahead, finish the story.
To be a health and physical education major and never be taught about mental health is crazy. And I have a bachelor's degree in health and physical education, and the only thing I can remember from mental health is like schizophrenia nervosa, whatever they called it. Anorexia, and you're crazy. Yeah. Anorexia nervosa, and you're crazy. And for me, the thing that helped me the most after that, I got that phone call, was counseling. And that counseling came in the form of talking to former teammates, actually going to speak to a counselor about my, situation. It took me going to leadership for like 3 months and realizing my value and my worth again, because the embarrassment of, getting fired after 18 years and having to answer the questions, and, the team, oh, they're in Louisville this week. Your friends from Louisville. Hey man, can you give me tickets? Oh, I'm not with the team anymore. Oh, what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something that we typically have to deal with for a couple of years, but the blessing in it was the willingness and realization that it's okay to go get help. It's okay to have conversations to let people know that you're doing not okay. because other people are kind of going through the same thing. And I love the fact that people are able to now become more open and authentic in the things that they're dealing with, because it's making other people realize that, you know, this person, Flight Time or Mike or whoever that you see living this perfect life every day. I have my struggles too. I have mornings when I don't feel like getting up. I have nights when I find myself sitting there crying and just wondering why, you know, things are a certain way, and trying to figure out a way that I can do something to help other people. And I go and talk to young kids at school. I talk to them about meditating. I'm like, man, I wish I knew about the power of meditation when I was playing sports. I just started meditating 2 years ago. The things I've been able to create over the past 2 or 3 years through 10 minutes of meditation every morning. I mean, this shirt that I have on, this logo on my shoulder, the visions that I have for documentaries and acting and the basketball clinics, my foundation, all of these ideas came to me through meditation. It's not that I didn't dream or whatever when I was younger, but to actually sit down and hold that space and know that you're about to create something magical, which could be just simply a great day that you created. But the ideas that come through this, getting in touch with yourself and perspective and realizing that what's going on around you is bigger than you, you know?
Right.
And you have the ability to impact people in the simplest of way. And I know my way is through kindness, through speaking to people, saying hello, entertaining them, letting them know it's going to be okay, inspiring, motivating, showing them, you know, everyday consistency. I'm getting up working, I'm putting this out in my social media, the text messages that I send, consistency. This is my mind exercise. And as a result of promoting and being that same person over the course of time, I'm kindness is free. And so anytime somebody thinks of something kind, I'm getting text messages, I'm getting Facebook, they're sending me pictures of people's cars, they're sending me quotes, they're sending me videos of people doing nice things. And I'm like, man, it took a lot of work for me to get to that point. And I can't stop now, even to the point to where I can walk around a group of people who know me. If their conversation is a negative conversation, I can hear that conversation switch before I get there. And that's cool as hell.
Right.
You
I
know?
love that. Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's fun. We got a lot in common, from our 7th grade coaches to, you know, meditating. I've been meditating longer than you. And recently I've been doing a lot of yoga at the beach in La Jolla here in San Diego. So I have my clients in the summer as a professional basketball skills trainer. But beforehand, I'm just sitting 30 feet up from the ocean doing yoga live on TikTok, and people have been tapping in. And, you know, like you said, since George, I've been pouring in to anything and everything. And that has changed my vibration significantly to have a greater sense of clarity for not only myself, but, you know, and who's come into my path, you know, since then. So it's really interesting when you change your vibration and your energy, like what actually happens. Like you said, your TED Talk, which we'll talk about in a second, right? You doing this movie came out of nowhere, so to speak, but you created it, right? You've been creating this change in your vibration energetically. And that's when the magic happens, like you talked about. Man, fascinating stuff. So you're afraid to, you know, pursue life after, you know, you're not a part of the Globetrotters anymore. And then, you know, there's a lot of things that happened after that. But tell everyone about what the TED Talk was like, man, because that's, you know, I had Wally Green on here. He's the table tennis player who went to North Korea as a, you know, representative for the United States and hugged a North Korean table tennis player after it was all said and done, and the crowd. And, you know, he was on the show, and he talks about exactly what you talk about. And he had a TED Talk, and just, I listened to it yesterday, and it was, you know, it was just amazing. So tell everyone about that experience. I mean, that just, because you got a time limit, like you gotta stick to it, right? There's parameters.
So Mike, the way I got my TED Talk is the same way I got my basketball scholarship, the way that I got on The Amazing Race, the way that it happened through a LinkedIn contact. When I left the Globetrotters in 2017, I had visions of speaking on big stages. Of course, I've already spoken on stages with the Globetrotters. That's what we did, elementary schools, businesses. It was just a matter of me honing my message that was for me now, not the message that they had given me to say over these years, which helped me prepare. But the TED Talk thing happened through connection. There was a young lady, I'll name drop, her name's Amanda Banks, and I'll call her the believer, and she calls herself the believer. She believes in people. We had been going back and forth a couple of times, and she told me that she was doing a TED Talk. And I was like, man, wow. In 2018, when I went to 2019, when I went to Burbank to pitch my sports game show idea to Bertram Van Munster, the creator of The Amazing Race. When I was in his office, his financial person. Talked to me a little bit about my vision, and he mentioned TED Talk. I had never heard of a TED Talk before. So I put that on my mind. I'm going to do one of these because I started to look at them. I started to watch them more. He told me, watch a few here and there and get a feel for it. I made it my mission to get a TED Talk. I didn't ask Amanda if she knew anybody that would be able to give me a TED Talk. After our conversation, she said, you know what? I'm doing a TED Talk April 30th, and I know the person who's putting it on. I think you would be great for it. I'm going to connect you with him. She connected me with that person the next day. He said, when we spoke, he said, Herb, we've only been talking for 10 minutes, and I'm going to offer you this spot. There's a spot that just came available, and it's yours. And he said, I'm going to give you the weekend to think about it. And for me, I already knew I wanted to do it. This was
right, just like your scholarship, you ain't have to think about nothing.
Think about it. I was like, all right, let me not seem too desperate, but by the end of the night, I sent him a message and I said, yeah, man, I'm down for it. And the thing about my TED Talk is that preparation as an athlete, you know how to prepare. They had these sessions where apparently before I got on the list where they were meeting for an hour here and there, telling how to used to do it, how to prepare for it. I had one guy, his name is Bruce Pulver, and he has a TED Talk dealing with words. Careful with the words that you use. Bruce Pulver. We had a call on Zoom for about 30 minutes, and he went through what he thought that I should be able to do, or how I should go about my TED Talk. And that's how I prepared. And I prepared one that I did at home by myself, nonstop, which I will post someday.
That's cool. Yeah, because I listened to your TED Talk. It was great. Yeah.
So they make you do a practice one before that. Like they want to see like
and submit it
before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Right.
And I sent it in. They didn't say anything. So at that point, it was all good. But just to be able to be on that stage and realize that it's one of the top speaking stages in the world, and the nerves that come along with it. Like you have 15 to 18 minutes to have a conversation, to share an idea. That's the premises of the TED Talk. I have an idea. The idea that I would like to share with you is this: kindness is free. And let me tell you why kindness is free. Because I'm on this stage because someone was kind to me. And moving forward, we talk about the acting again, preparation. My former teammate, Kevin Special K Daly, this is social media again. He sees me posting, me working out on my tonal. He sees me working, running. He sees me active. He sees I'm physically in shape. On top of that, we played together for 10 years. He's a showman, I'm a dribbler. Curly Neal Metal Art, Larry, Curly, and Mo. It's like peanut butter and jelly. So he got the role for Goose Tatum in the Sweetwater movie back in, I think it was 2014 when he first left the Globetrotters. The movie was supposed to happen then. It didn't happen. It got shut down. The movie got greenlit 6 months ago, and the producer kept the same people he had in the role. There was 2 or 3 guys that already had that he wanted to be in the role, and they wanted to bring in a couple actors. And Special K told the producer, he said, I need at least one former Globetrotter, real Globetrotter that can actually help me put this together with the choreography on the court and just teaching these actors what it was like to be a Globetrotter. And he said, I know, and I knew that you were ready because I've been watching you every day on social media. I know you've been working out. I know that you're physically fit. And that's how it happened. I just stayed ready. And I kept wondering, I said, why am I working out so hard? What is happening? What is about to happen for me? And when it happened, I didn't have to get in shape because I was already in shape.
Man, that's
and
amazing.
There was not one day that I walked on that set and felt out of place. I feel like I'm just as good as any actor, that's on. I mean, we got Jeremy Pivens, we got Richard Richard that's been on Coach Carter. Just a host of famous people. Eric Roberts, Julia Roberts' brother, has a role in the movie. Richard Dreyfuss is in the movie.
One of my favorites, yeah.
Right.
That's crazy.
These people, Kevin Pollak, these people are people that I've watched their movies growing up, and to be in the same space with them and to learn from them, but at the same time know that, hey, he's human, I'm human, and I'm just as capable of doing what he's doing as any other person. And you are too. When I say, I'm not saying that to be arrogant, but it made me realize that I'm capable, my daughter's capable, my son's capable, all of my teammates are capable of doing what I'm doing right now. And I want to make sure that I do everything I can to do a great job so that when these opportunities come up, they were like, Herb was a Globetrotter, he do it with help. Showbiz could probably do it too. Or Sweet Pea, Wild Thing could probably play that role. My vision is to see and have more and more Globetrotters showing up in the public on motion television and just spreading goodwill the way that we did when we were on the court. Just because that uniform's not on anymore don't mean that that person died. We're still good people with a lot of information to share with the world. And that's what a lot of us do in our communities. We give back the best way that we can with the resources that we have.
Well, it teaches people to care about the person, not just the Globetrotter, which is really important, because they may like the Globetrotter, but, you know, they have other issues in their own mind. And, you know, getting to know someone that doesn't look like them or talk like them or grew up in the same way that they did, that's how you break down these walls. And so that's one way to break it down, is to, everyone loves the Globetrotters, and then that starts the conversation. And then who knows, maybe you find some middle ground with someone that you may not have found middle ground with before because of that.
The conversations that are going to be had when this movie comes out, you just wait. Like, the thing about it, like I told you, being able to go back and live in that time and have traveled and heard how people feel about the Globetrotters. I texted the producer, and I said, I don't think you know what you created. You want to talk about some barbershop talk, some shop talk? Everybody has a Globetrotter memory. I mean, not to say everybody, but half the people
of our era,
I'll tell you, 80% of the people that 7 out of 8 people, if I say I played with the Globetrotters, they have a story. It may not be in the arena. It could be at a hotel. It could be, you know, I met one at a nightclub. I met one at a church. I met one at the arena. You know, everybody has like and it's usually a great story. It's about a good experience that they had. And it's just, it's unprecedented, and it's cool that it's been able to sustain for such a long period of time, coming up on 100 years in 2020. So I think it's 95 years right now of joy, entertainment, bringing smiles to people's faces, and to be a part of an organization like that and to have developed the friendships. And I mean, let's be real. If I hadn't played for the Globetrotters, there's probably a good chance that we wouldn't be talking to each other right now. So I'm grateful for that. And that's why it's important for me. And remembering Curly Neal, he was one of my favorites. He would always come out on the road. Whenever he came out, he would check on us. How you guys doing? Are they taking care of you? You know, he wanted to make sure that things were better for us than they were when he was there. And as me, for myself, as a former Globetrotter who played for almost 20 years and done 3 seasons of The Amazing Race, you know, all the stuff that you mentioned, I know the impact that I'm able to have. And it's important for me to make sure that not only the guys that are there now, but the guys who came before me and the guys who will be there after me will have a better experience than I had. And it's just, I'll give you another example. I am on the National Basketball Retired Players Association Membership and Benefits Committee. We serve over 1,500 NBA players, a couple hundred WNBA players, ABA players, and former Globetrotters. I was elected. I've been a member of the organization for 5 years since I retired, but I was recently selected to be a part of this committee. And for me, it's an honor to be able to try to create ideas and things that can help these former athletes. You know, not only Globetrotters, but guys that I grew up watching, you know, that some of them are struggling, you know, and some of us are struggling, but to know that I have an opportunity to impact them and help them and come up with ideas that can make their lives better, not a better feeling.
Mike Sweetney was one of those guys. He was on the show, former Georgetown Hoya, and his story is incredible. He was on the show. He talked about it. He was in the same draft as LeBron James. He almost sold his pension, and someone talked him out of it. That's how desperate he was, and, you know, almost near homeless before, you know, right when COVID hit. And, you know, we stepped up in the sports deli and helped him out. But there, I'm sure you've heard stories like that too. Professional athletes losing all their money. You know, financial literacy was never taught. They just, you know, put their faith in the hands of their financial advisors and their agents, and a lot of them lost everything.
I think that's a story that a lot of us, I mean, I've lost money too. I mean, I've taken some risks that haven't paid off, but I've taken a lot of that paying off for me. Like, I'm betting on myself, but you know, it's when that happens, it's important that you have somebody there to pick you up. I mean, even the experience that I had at the Summer League meeting that we had, just hearing some of those stories, I'm like, man, I wouldn't trade my 18-year career for 3 years of that guy's NBA career, but still at the same time, I need to go uplift that guy. I need to let him know that he is who he is, because I know him, and the people where he played at knows who he is. So I want to let him know that I'm doing what I'm doing as a former Globetrotter. So there is a whole lot more that you can do as well. So it's just, you know, it's just really cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, let's get to some of the rapid fire. Okay, so first question, you mentioned The Amazing Race a number of times. So that used to be my favorite, like, interactive reality show. I mean, I watch it religiously. And so what
I
was
did
your
too.
right? So what was your favorite like challenge? Like out of all 3 seasons, like which one, like, or what country was like, man, I can't believe I'm going here. Oh, the roadblocks, just the
I'll tell you my favorite country, and I'll tell you my least favorite challenge, the one I had the most difficulty with.
okay.
My favorite country was Australia because I'd never been there before. And all the Globetrotters
Oh
that preceded me say that that's their favorite country that they ever been to.
man.
Super laid back people, easy going, love basketball.
Yeah.
And New Zealand. My college roommate, he actually went to play basketball in New Zealand in '99. He's been there since, married with kids. So I had a chance to go
Wow.
and perform and go to my college roommate's house, meet his
Wow.
kids and his family, and realize that the people in that town called him a legend. They were more impressed that, oh, you were roommates with the legend Link, his name's Link Abrams, than the
Wow.
fact that I was, with the Globetrotter. So being
That's
able to travel
crazy.
over to Australia on the Amazing Race, and then later on as a Globetrotter, was one of the coolest things. My least favorite was, I think it was season 2. We had a tea challenge in India where myself and Luke and Margie. Luke was a deaf kid, and his mom was his partner.
I
She
remember
was a little bit.
that.
We were
Yes.
in India, and we had a challenge. There was a Snapple challenge, which we didn't realize. We tasted tea in the country before we got to India. Little did we think that there would be something that come up.
Wow.
There was 1,000 cups of tea on this table, and we had to recognize the one that we tasted 2 days before. And I hadn't even. I'm like, man, why do they have us stop and drinking this tea? It was good, but whatever. And the deal was you had to drink the whole cup, take it up to the guy, and say it was the right one. It was a Snapple tea. The rest of the teas were regular India tea, but we never knew that.
Wow.
Once I went through 300 or 400 cups of tea, me and Luke were the last 2 people there. I'm talking about throwing up, projectile vomiting, and other stuff that I won't even mention on this show right now was happening to us, to the point where they're like, all right, you don't have to drink the whole thing anymore. Just sip it. If you think that's the right one, we're just guessing it. All right, is this it? Nope. But when I got it, I tasted it. It was so different from the rest. It was a Snapple tea, like you go to the grocery store, and that's what it was. It was not your regular non-sweetened dry tea.
Oh my God.
But then again, one of the things they say is, read the clue, pay attention to every detail.
Right.
There was a guy, Ron, who was on there with his daughter. He got it in like the second one. Oh, I recognize this tea. And he took it right up there. I'm like, are you kidding me? He's done already. And here I am there 3 hours later.
Man.
Like, oh my God. But yeah, that was crazy.
So did you ever overcome any like fears of anything in any of the 3 races that you were like afraid of heights or anything like that? Where nothing. It was a great experience. So the travel, everything.
I loved it. I'm not afraid of heights at all.
Man.
I've jumped off the stratosphere in Vegas 7 times. I'm ready to go skydiving. So if anybody's got a nice skydiving thing, I'm ready to do that.
Man.
I'm actually here in Orlando for my goddaughter's basketball tournament, and come to find out, lady sitting behind me, she didn't know. She recognized me from Amazing Race, and her daughter plays on my goddaughter's team. They're from Texas, and she was like, "I know who you are." My daughter and I, we've been watching. She's 15. We've been watching. She said, "My friend Eric." She said, "He never told us that you were his friend." Like, she's like, "We're straight fangirl." And then after the game was over with, her daughter plays with my goddaughter. She was the same way. She was like, "Wow!" Like I forgot how many people actually watched that show back then and even now. And she said that they watch it still now religiously as a family, because one of the things that was cool after we did the show is when families would come up after the game and say to Big Easy and I, "Thank you guys, because what you guys put on tape is a show that we can actually sit down as a family and watch together. You guys run it with grace, with kindness, but with intensity, wanting to win, but it's fun to watch." Wow. And there's nothing better than that after a game, to hear a family say, "For sure, you're what we can watch on TV. You're the reason why we're here." Curly Neal, Meadowlark Lemon, when I was a kid, I went to see them, and that's the reason why they're here as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. All right. A few more questions. That's amazing. Oh my goodness. One of my favorite shows of all time, for sure. So did you prefer dancing with the little kids or talking a little smack with the Washington Generals?
I enjoyed dancing with little kids, and I talk smack with the Washington Generals outside the arena, because one of the cool things about that is that a lot of those guys are still my friends today. You know, so they travel with us from city to city. We party in the same nightclubs. We eat breakfast at the same places. We check on each other. It's a brotherhood all the way around. You know, there was a time when they didn't stay at the same hotels and whatnot, but now that's even changed, which I'm really, really happy about, because I always felt like those guys made a lot of big sacrifices in order for us to look good. And it takes a lot of pride and dignity to do something for the betterment of another organization or human being. And those guys are and always have been amazing human beings who know what it's all about, taking sacrifice, like taking one for the team every night all around the world. And there were some pretty girls in the stands too. Now you taking look, I'm gonna leave you tickets for this game. We might probably are gonna lose, but I'm gonna, you know, like imagine.
And some good players.
Great players, guys who have actually transferred over, you know, to become Globetrotters.
So did music impact you growing up?
Oh yeah, I love music. I mean, I wanted to be Michael Jackson when I was growing up. I love dancing. Wanted to be Michael Jackson, Prince, all of that. I had the Michael Jackson jacket with all the zippers on it. I would have got some high heels like Prince, but my mama, she wasn't going for that. When I was growing up, I was like, man, I'm gonna get me a girlfriend just like Prince. Her name gonna be Apollonia.
Oh man! So if you're in your car right now by yourself, what are you singing?
Oh, I'm an R&B guy. A lot of John Legend. When I'm rapping though, Roddy Ricch is my guy.
Well, who's your favorite old school rapper though?
Oh, old school rapper. Let's see.
It's like Big Daddy or Eric B. and Rakim. No, they didn't speak to you.
It would probably be a group. Growing up in Arkansas, like you said, 1 hour and 4 minutes between Memphis and Little Rock. A lot of 8 Ball and MJG.
Oh wow.
Yeah, 8 Ball and MJG. Yep. Project Pat, those guys. 666 Mafia. Those are people that I kind of grew up watching because I spent a lot of time in Memphis. I have a lot of family over there. People from Memphis love Memphis and they love whatever it is about Memphis and they're going to give it to you. So I kind of adapted Memphis and Little Rock. Those are my second homes. I was a Memphis Tiger fan growing up and I was an Arkansas Razorback fan growing up. I rooted for Penny Hardaway, Elliot Perry. I remember they used to play against Louisville with LaVell Joe Simmons and Never Nervous Purvis.
Right.
I mean, Keith Lee, even back now, I go way back. I remember those guys introduced me to the game of basketball.
Back in the Street and Smith days. So who do you prefer as an announcer? Bill Walton? Well, Steve Lavin will not be announcing anymore as he's the new head men's basketball coach right down the street here at the University of San Diego. But so Bill Walton or Dick Vitale?
Oh man, so I just met Bill Walton at the Legends Conference. I mean, we were together all weekend. We had a few good conversations. We're on the bus together on the way to the games. So cool. I used to love when him and Snapper Jones used to go.
Oh my God.
But I would have to go with Dick Vitale because Dick Vitale is one of my all-time favorites, and he's the person who called the night I won the college dunk contest.
Wow, it's crazy. There's
if you go back and play the video, it's on YouTube. There's a 3-minute version and a 4-minute version. You'll hear Dickie Vitale doing the call, and I remember winning and playing it back like, he's a PT peer. He's going to be the big man on campus. Look out, centenary. Like, it was a dream come true.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got to go with Dickie V.
Yeah, he's been battling cancer. Gave a great speech last night at the ESPYs. And I've known Bill a long time. Bill used to ask me to come downtown to Muni, where the Clippers used to hold their training camp and practice facility, and have me work out future NBA players by feeding them in the post. And obviously, I used to work UCLA's camp, so I've known Bill a long time. I've been trying to get him on the show forever. He keeps saying yes, but he's reinvented himself. So he's busier now than he's ever been. You know, with his social media. I mean, he's a rock star right now. Okay, a couple more questions. Kenny, Shaq, Ernie, or Chuck on Inside the NBA on TNT?
Shaq's my all-time favorite athlete.
Oh wow!
You know, I've had a chance to meet him a lot of times, and he's the most down-to-earth, realist person I've ever met as an athlete. I've met him a couple times, and I don't think he knows who I am. Maybe he does, but he acts like he knows me every time I see him. And I think he gives that to every person. He makes you feel like, for me, and people I've seen him be around, and some of the experiences I've shared in conversations, he makes everybody feel comfortable around him. So I really enjoy him. I haven't met Charles Barkley. I met Kenny Smith one time at a fundraising event after Hurricane Katrina in Houston, but Shaq's my favorite, man. He's come to the Globetrotter games. He's been to a few of those. I remember even in Denver one time, I think he was playing. I'm not sure who he was playing with, but I remember him coming into our locker room, like straight up joking around, wrestling around with us. Like, man, you better get your big old butt up out of here. You're gonna hurt somebody. But man, Shaq is the man.
Okay, so if you could have any three people at your dinner table, past or present, dead or alive, but you've never met them before, who would be at your dinner table?
Dead or alive, past or present, that I've never met before. I would go with man, I've never met Bill Gates. I've always kind of wanted to meet him.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day. Actually, I would love to meet Kanye West.
Wow.
I would love to meet him and have a conversation with that guy. And
Man.
I know it seems like it's a lot of famous or whatever rich people, but I would have to go with this Elon Musk guy as well. I got to invite him to the table and see where his mind is at. I want to explore these 1% thinking type minds and see where they're. I kind of know where it comes from because I feel like I have a lot of it in me. There's a lot of being misunderstood that comes along with these responsibilities or whatnot. But yeah, those are the three guys off the top of my head without thinking about it that I would invite to my table.
Who'll be the first female at your table?
The first female, well, man, I'm gonna say this is probably kind of crazy right now. I got to get Brittany at the table when she gets back. I got to have a conversation with her about the experience that she's been through, because I can only imagine what she's going through and the strength that it's taken, for her to get through this. Not that she's gonna get through it; she's gonna get through it. But yeah, man, I'd love to have a conversation with her about this experience and the thoughts that she, formulated over this time. I imagine she feels a lot of abandonment, a lot of, her country giving up on her, a country who she's done so much for and representing in the Olympics. But yeah, it'd be pretty cool to meet her. And I'd like to meet, some people may not like this, Hillary Clinton. I mean, I'm from Arkansas. So as a female who I thought, might be the first president or whatever, I would love to meet her.
She's brilliant. I don't care what anybody says.
Oprah, I'm still going. Oprah raised me.
Well, now you're even three males and three females. So you made everybody happy on that. What's the biggest key to your marriage, and what's the best part about being a dad, girl dad and a boy dad?
The best thing about being married for me is I got married February 22nd, 2022. My wife and I, we've been together first time. For 5 years, and it's the first time I ever got married.
Wow.
I've never done it before. I'm learning that it takes a lot of sacrifice, a lot of work, but it's worth it. The things that I've been able to create with her, even working out, like she inspires me. I was telling her today, you inspired me to work out. When I left the Globetrotters, I was 220. I'm 185 now.
Wow.
I dunked yesterday for the first time on a 10-foot goal off the ground.
I was going to ask you that.
For the first time since I was 39 or 40. And I've been working toward it. And it's because with her, when I first met her, she was consistent, working out every day. She's watching the food that she put in her body. Me as an athlete, like, we're on the road, I'm eating whatever, I'm working out, so I don't have to worry about that. But at the same time, it's taking a horrible toll on my body, the bad foods that I'm putting in.
Right.
So over the course of the last 5 years, this woman has inspired me. She's inspired me to think outside the box, think different, think as an owner, not as a person who wants to work for people. So yeah, I mean, that's been really cool. And with my son and my daughter, my son, he's a really great athlete, plays 3 sports up in upstate New York, baseball, football, basketball. He's already visited in football, not officially, he's visited West Point Army. They recruiting him, Colgate, Cornell. Nice. And the thing about it is my son's supposed to be a sophomore, but he'll be a senior this year. He's supposed to be getting ready to be a junior. He'll be 17 in December. But we started him early. So he's National Honor Society just as before school ended. And
just like his dad.
Super involved in the community. And the best reward that I get when I go up to Endicott to visit him is the conversation that I have with people about the kid that he is. And that makes me proud. And my daughter, she just turned 15 on the 7th. She's actor, dancer, singer. She's got elected to student council. So she's a leader. We have had some really great conversations over the past 6 months about her ideas and things that she wants to impact in the world. And she's a lot like me in that sense. She's not playing sports or anything like that, but she dances, and she actually told me that she's interested in playing basketball now. She's a 10th grader, and I'm saying, hey, it's not too late. You're athletic. She's 5'10". And so, yeah, we probably get some basketball going on with her.
Where's your home base?
Well, I live, my wife is a tax professional. So we live in Sacramento where the brick and mortar business is. We live there from from Christmas till about April. But we just built a house on HGTV's 100 Day Dream Home season 2 with Brian and Mika. We built in Ruskin, Florida. And Brian, who was on The Amazing Race, he's my neighbor. He built at the end of season 2 on the lake across the away from me. So I can see his house from my house. So we've been there for about a year and a half now. But again, it's those relationships. Remember,
Man,
Brian and I have been friends since 2009.
Man,
you know.
That's
but yeah,
amazing.
I gave him a call one day. I told my wife when we were watching the show, season 1, I said, if I call him or text him, he's gonna do this for us. And I sent him a text message after one of the episodes. He said, let's do it.
Wow.
You know, just like that. You know, of course we had to go through all of the, you know, you got to get financing and get your money right and all that kind of stuff. But he was like, let's do it. And not only did he do it, he built it in the same neighborhood as his.
Man, that is incredible. Fascinating stuff, man.
I was out fishing yesterday on my back of my house, and he just stopped by. So I mean, friends like that stopping by, he's telling me, oh, we just started filming season 4, and you know, just to have those connections and be in that space, it not only forces you but allows you to think different. Like, all right, not that we're in competition, but he's successful, so that's who I'm running with. So what is he doing? You know, and he's asking me the same thing about the movie. Man, that must have been a great opportunity. So we're in the same space, kind of sharing, you know, like-minded ideas. And I'm asking him, what else do you want to create, Brian? I think we could do something together. You know, so yeah, man, it's cool. Life's been good. I can't complain. I'm blessed, and I count them every day, and I take nothing for granted.
That's awesome. Do you want to say anything about your book or anything else before I let you go?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I want to encourage people to please go check out the TED Talk. It's titled "Kindness is Free." I actually wrote a book called Projects, Popes, and Presidents after my Globetrotter career, and that helped me tremendously get through a lot of the struggles that I was able to, you know, I had been through. Just put it down on paper and getting it out of my system. Projects, Popes, and Presidents, and also during the pandemic in 2020, I was able to co-author volume 4 of Jim Rich Cracking the Rich Code, and that features Kevin Harrington. Tony Robbins did a forward on that one.
I saw that.
And yeah, just to be able to, as LeBron say, be more of an athlete. I see your shirt says "Speak up and dribble" as opposed to "Shut up and dribble." Yeah, I am more than an athlete, as they say. Athletics and being a Globetrotter will get me in the door, but once you get me in that door, you're going to peel back a whole bunch of layers that you probably didn't imagine that I had. So
let's go.
Yeah, man, I just want to encourage people to just, you know, be kind to the person next to you. Spread the word. Kindness is free.
Kindness is free. And, you know, you're doing stuff for yourself to be the best version of yourself every day, but you're paying it forward and doing whatever you can to, you know, be a representative of so many different layers for your own people, for things in society. And the best is maybe yet to come. Who knows? I mean, there's
the best is for sure yet to come. I promise you that. As I tell people, I'm just warming up. I'm just getting loose.
That's what I'm talking about. Layup line, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Hey, much love. And anything I can ever do, that's, like I said, that's been my mission. I don't make a dime on these podcasts. I don't make a dime on my TikTok. I'm just pouring in, showing love, and doing anything I can to either be an influencer or a connector of a connector. And that's what I care to do more than anything in the world. So, but let's stay in touch, and anything I can do for you. If you got any ideas, let me know, and you can come back and co-host anytime. It's open invitation.
All right. I appreciate it, man. And if anybody's looking for a motivational speaker, hit me up. I'm the man for the job.
Yeah, definitely.
If not, I know the man.
All right. That's right. All right. Much love, Herb. All right. We'll talk soon.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Enjoy.
All right. Yep. Absolutely.
Have a good day.
All right.
Kindness is free.
Absolutely. Man, that was fascinating. Herb Flight Time Lang, ladies and gentlemen, here in the Sports Deli. So, you know, every podcast is a little bit different. I just love the conversations. And I was being genuine when I said in the beginning, I forgot that he was even a Globetrotter. We were just, you know, shooting the shit, talking about his upbringing. And, you know, for those of you that have listened before, you know that everybody that's come on the show has a different perspective on their upbringing. And I always am interested to hear how they got to where they are, especially people of color growing up in that era that he grew up in, and his 7th grade coach and his family and how they influenced him. And man, and he's giving back in so many ways. So I definitely felt his energy and his love. Man, learned a lot from him today, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining us. Boy, that was phenomenal. Great job, and much love to everyone. Remember, Black Lives Matter. Stop the bullying. Stop the Asian hate. Contact your local and state politicians for any inequalities, for any individual or any group that's being marginalized. Also, everyone, we want to raise awareness for those individuals that are currently imprisoned for non-violent offenses, in particular those with long-term sentences that are disproportionate, in particular to those people in the Black and brown community. And I want to send a shout out to 40tons.co. 40 Tons is a socially conscious cannabis brand, and they're a social enterprise using the regulated cannabis industry to fight injustice, in particular for cannabis prisoners. So check them out again at 40, the number 4, the number 0, tons, plural, 40tons.co, because what they're doing in the cannabis space and being a socially conscious company is truly incredible, and they have my full support. And also wanted to remind all of you, if you're having a tough time, you can always call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and that number is 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, and they are available 24/7, 365 days a year. You can also always check me out on Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok at Mike Hootner. Thanks again to our amazing sponsors, Breaking Tea, Sport RX, PSK Collective, City Lokes, and Moolah Kicks, which you can see right here up on the screen. You can search them online at breakingtea.com, sportrx.com, pskcollective.com, moolahkicks.com, and citylokes.com. And if you'd like to support us at the Sports Deli, we'd love to have you either make a one-time donation or feel free to make a donation monthly, either 99 cents a month, $4.99 a month, or $9.99 a month. If you have questions about that, send me an email again to thesportsdeli@gmail.com, and I will send you the link on how you can do that. You can also find it at the bottom of every podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Link at the bottom to support the show. Please check out our website at thesportsdelipodcast.com. Make sure that we continue the conversations with regards to 3 strikes and you're out and mandatory minimums, especially people that are in jail for non-violent offenses. So those things need to change. And remember, gents and ladies, please remember to do your monthly self-breast examinations. And remember, guys, this afflicts about 1,500 men annually, with about a third of those resulting in death. So we want to make sure that we do our monthly self-breast examinations, both men and women. And guys, remember to do your self-testicular examinations every month as well. Until next time, remember, it takes a village. For Dr. J and Coach K, I'm Hootie Hoot. This has been a production of Hootie Hoot Productions. Thank you for joining us in the Sports Deli, where everyone deserves a seat at the table. Remember, it takes a village. Much love, everybody.